The year is 2075. People look at my life today and they call it success. They see this modern house, the advanced technology around me, the comfort of a future world, but none of them know the truth. This future was not built by machines. It was not built by artificial intelligence. It was built by the calloused hands of a man who once lived in a leaking shack. That man was my father. The year is 2075. People look at my life today and they call it success. They see this modern house, the advanced technology around me, the comfort of a future world, but none of them know the truth. This future was not built by machines. It was not built by artificial intelligence. It was built by the calloused hands of a man who once lived in a leaking shack. That man was my father. Human history is often written with great rulers, powerful kings, and revolutionary inventions. But there is another kind of history, a kind of history that never appears. In textbooks, it is the history of ordinary fathers, ordinary mothers, people who quietly sacrificed their entire lives so their children could step into a better future. My family story is one of those stories. A story that began with mud, sweat, and very small dreams. In the year 2025, many people talked about artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, and humanity traveling deeper into space. But my father's world back then had only one goal: survival. My father and mother got married with almost nothing in their hands. Their first home was just a small shack made from bamboo and old plastic sheets near the river. Whenever heavy rain came, water would drip from the roof. One drop at a time, my mother placed bowls all over the floor to catch the leaking rain, and my father would quietly sit near the doorway, watching the rain fall into the darkness, thinking about tomorrow. Life was harsh. There were days when our entire family's meal was nothing more than a bowl of thin porridge with a few grains of salt. My father worked every job he could find, carrying heavy goods at the river docks, working as a construction helper on building sites, laboring in the fields under a burning sun. His feet rarely knew what it felt like to wear a proper pair of shoes. They were always covered in mud, cracked and hardened by wind and heat. My father did not work to become rich. He worked so his child would never have to sleep with an empty stomach. I still remember one rainy night. Our small shack was lit only by a weak oil lamp. I had already fallen asleep on an old woven mat. My father looked at me for a long time. Then he quietly said to my mother, "No matter how hard my life becomes, our child must go to school." It was not a grand speech, but for my father, it was a promise. He would spend his entire life trying to buy my first set of school books. My father skipped lunch for many weeks to give me a white shirt to wear to school. My mother stayed awake late into the night, sewing together pieces of old cloth. They lived a life of sacrifice. They skipped meals. They wore old clothes. They even gave up their own dreams, all of them, just to give me one opportunity. Time passed. The child in that shack slowly grew up. My father often told me something I will never forget. Use your mind to change your life, but never forget the hands that raised that mind. Those words followed me through every stage of my life. Now, it is the year 2075. The world has changed. Fields that once depended on human labor are now cared for by robots. Silent drones fly across the sky, monitoring crops. Artificial intelligence manages massive agricultural systems that feed entire nations. And me, the child who once lived in that leaking shack, I have become an engineer, designing technologies that help feed millions of people. I built my parents a new house, a bright home, a spacious home, a place where cool breezes and warm sunlight fill every afternoon. But deep in my heart, I know something. There is no house in the world that could ever repay those cold nights inside that old shack. This house is not a gift. It is only a late thank you from a grateful son. Today, my father is old. The wrinkles on his face have grown deeper, but his smile is still the same gentle smile I remember from childhood. At family dinners, he sits quietly among his children and grandchildren. He still respects every grain of rice. He still eats simply as he did during the hardest years. Sometimes he places his rough hand on my shoulder and says just one sentence: "You did well." For me, that is the greatest reward I will ever receive. People often ask me, what is the greatest technology of the future? But after everything I have seen, I know the answer. The greatest force that has ever changed the world is not technology. It is love. It is sacrifice. It is the quiet strength of ordinary fathers and mothers who spend their entire lives building a future for their children. Because in the end, the greatest legacy a father can leave to his child is not money. It is a heart that knows how to love and a pair of hands that will never stop building dreams. The year is 20